You think addiction is about weakness, about lack of willpower? That's the illusion, the lie society feeds you. But Carl Jung saw through it. He understood something far deeper, something most people still can't face. Addiction is not the problem, it's the symptom. Behind every craving is a message, a signal, a cry from the unconscious begging to be heard. And until you listen, until you decode it, you will stay trapped, chained, ashamed. Because addiction is never just about the thing. It's not the alcohol, not the porn, not the weed, not the food. Those are just vehicles. What you're really addicted to is escape. Escape from what? Yourself. From the part of you that you've exiled, the pain you never faced, the desires you buried, the truths you've silenced. Jung called this the shadow. Everything you deny, repress, and disown. And the more you suppress it, the stronger it grows. Not in daylight, but in the dark. In your cravings, your compulsions, your secret self. You think your addiction is random? It's not. It's precise. It emerges exactly where you are weakest, most fragmented, most dishonest. It's not trying to destroy you. It's trying to wake you up. Because when the conscious mind refuses to grow, the unconscious mind rebels. That rebellion, that's addiction. Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." And most men are living this fate, spiraling, not because they're broken, but because they've never truly listened to the part of themselves that's screaming through their habits. You're not powerless, you're split. One part of you wants to rise, to build, to reclaim your life. Another part wants to numb, to vanish, to avoid the unbearable weight of being. And as long as those two parts are at war, you will never be free. Because freedom doesn't come from more discipline. It comes from deeper integration, from seeing your craving not as a defect, but as a distorted compass pointing to your unmet needs, your unprocessed pain, your unlived truth. And that's what makes this so hard. You don't need more control. You need more courage. The courage to face what you've been running from, not with shame, with curiosity. Ask yourself, what is this addiction protecting me from? What feeling is it covering up? What part of myself have I abandoned so completely that I can only find it through this ritual of destruction? You think you crave dopamine? Number, you crave connection to yourself. You think you want stimulation? Number, you want to feel alive because you've been emotionally dead for too long. This is the key Jung left behind. Addiction is symbolic. It's not random. It's mythic, archetypal. It's the fire you walk through to meet your real self on the other side. But to do that, you have to stop fighting it like it's an enemy. You have to listen. You have to stop numbing and start decoding, because your unconscious doesn't care about your comfort. It cares about your transformation. And if you ignore the whispers, it will scream. That's what a relapse is. That's what rock bottom is. That's not failure. That's initiation. Your soul is not trying to destroy you. It's trying to free you from the false life you've built around survival, around hiding, around silence. So don't just ask, how do I quit? Ask, what is this addiction trying to show me? Because behind every craving is a key. And if you're brave enough to pick it up, you'll find something no substance can ever give you: wholeness. Let's get brutally honest. Most people don't relapse because they're weak. They relapse because they're dishonest. They tell themselves they're fine, that they're handling it, that they're on the right path. But deep down, something's off. They feel numb, hollow, disconnected, and that quiet emptiness becomes unbearable. That's when the craving hits, not because you want pleasure, but because you want relief from the tension, the inner war, the mask you've been wearing so well that even you believe it. And here's the dark truth Jung pointed to. The shadow isn't just pain, it's also power. It contains everything you've repressed, yes, but also everything you've neglected, your raw truth, your fire, your instincts, your drive. So every time you relapse, part of you is trying to wake that up. The problem is, you're doing it through destruction instead of transformation, because no one taught you how to reclaim your shadow, only how to suppress it, medicate it, drown it in content and comfort. But suppression doesn't work. It only intensifies the hunger, until one day it owns you. You don't get addicted overnight. It's a process, a gradual erosion of self-trust. It starts with tiny lies. I deserve this. I've had a hard day. Just one more time. I'll quit tomorrow. And each lie chips away at your integrity, at your center, until your identity becomes fractured. You start living two lives, one in public, one in secret, one for others, one for the addiction. And that's when shame takes root. Deep, silent, toxic. Jung saw this clearly. He believed shame was not just a moral emotion, it was a psychological prison, a trap that locks the shadow deeper in the unconscious, making it even more dangerous. The more you hide it, the more it controls you. So how do you escape this loop? It's not by doubling down on discipline. It's not by punishing yourself or cutting off the internet or deleting apps. Those are external controls, and they're useful, but they're not the cure. The real work is internal. You have to face the version of yourself you've abandoned. The boy who was hurt, the man who felt unseen, the soul that was never given permission to feel what it actually felt. Because that's what addiction preys on, disconnection from the real you. You crave not the substance, but the state it gives you, the illusion of peace, the illusion of freedom. But all it does is postpone the reckoning. And here's the paradox. The longer you run from the pain, the more it owns you. But the moment you turn and face it, fully, honestly, without flinching, it starts to lose its grip. Not because it disappears, but because you grow. The shadow doesn't need to be destroyed. It needs to be seen, understood, integrated, because it holds the energy you need to rebuild your life, authentically, powerfully, on your own terms. You want to be free from addiction? Then stop asking how to kill the craving. Start asking what the craving is trying to awaken. Because at its core, addiction is a corrupted instinct. It's your psyche reaching for transformation, but taking a shortcut. And shortcuts always cost more than they save. So take the long road, the hard road, the conscious road. That's the path of integration. That's the path Jung devoted his life to revealing. Not to control the shadow, to become whole with it. You don't just want to stop the addiction. You want to feel something real, something raw, something alive. And here's the truth Jung made uncomfortably clear. Addiction flourishes in the absence of meaning. If your life feels empty, meaningless, disconnected, your unconscious will search for substitutes. It always will. And in the modern world, those substitutes are endless: scrolling, gaming, porn, sugar, validation, weed, alcohol, even so-called spirituality. The shadow doesn't care what you use, it just wants to feel something. It's hungry for intensity, for depth, for wholeness. And if your life lacks those things, addiction steps in to deliver a cheap, fast, and corrosive replacement. This is why so many men are secretly suffering, because they've been told addiction is just chemical or just psychological. But it's not just either. It's also existential. It's a symptom of a life unlived. Jung said, "No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." That's the work, going into the hell of your own avoidance, not to stay there, but to retrieve what you left behind. Meaning, purpose, soul. And that doesn't come from avoiding discomfort. It comes from choosing it, consciously, from stepping into the fire with your eyes open, from doing what you've been avoiding for years. The hard conversation, the unexpressed truth, the creative risk, the physical discipline, the mission that makes your hands shake and your stomach turn. Because that's where your shadow becomes your ally. Not in suppression, in devotion to something greater than pleasure. Addiction hijacks the most powerful part of your psyche, your ability to surrender. But instead of surrendering to meaning, you surrender to dopamine. Instead of serving your deepest values, you serve your most urgent impulses. And the result? You look calm on the outside, but inside, you're spiritually starving. The antidote is not to kill desire, it's to elevate it, to channel it, to direct the energy of your craving towards something worthy. You want to break the cycle? You need something worth sacrificing for. You need to find or build a mission that demands your full attention, one that calls for your presence, one that humbles you, exhausts you, burns you down, and builds you back up. Because once you taste real meaning, the artificial stuff starts to rot in your mouth. You don't just stop wanting the addiction, you see through it. You realize it was never about the thing. It was about the hole you didn't know how to fill. And that hole, it's shaped like responsibility, not guilt, not shame, but sacred responsibility for your own evolution. Because here's what no one tells you. Craving is not the enemy. It's the compass. It tells you where your energy is misdirected, where your soul is whispering, there's more. Not more consumption, more you. So let yourself want deeply, but want the right thing. Want discipline, want mastery, want peace that's earned, not hacked. This is the integration Jung spoke of, when you stop fearing the shadow and start partnering with it. When you stop using your energy to escape and start using it to build, not perfection, not purity, but presence. Because addiction doesn't end when the cravings stop. It ends when you stop needing to run. The moment you stop seeing addiction as a demon and start seeing it as a distorted instinct, everything changes. Carl Jung taught that the unconscious doesn't use words. It uses symbols. And addiction is one of the most violent, compelling symbols your psyche can produce. Not to ruin you, to wake you up. Because if you're addicted, you're not a weak man. You're a powerful man who hasn't yet learned how to direct his power. That fire in your gut, that ache in your chest, that restless energy that won't let you sit still, that's not a curse. That's raw psychic force. What Jung called libido, not just sexual energy, but life energy. And that energy is being hijacked, looped, misfired, directed towards self-soothing instead of self-becoming. But you can reclaim it. How? By choosing to sit with the craving, not to fight it, but to feel it fully. Don't flinch, don't distract, don't medicate, observe it. What does it feel like? Where does it live in your body? What thought does it attach to? What memory does it echo? That discomfort is your initiation, because the craving, stripped of story, stripped of fear, stripped of habit, becomes pure will. And will is your tool of transformation. You are not here to be a slave to your urges. You're here to alchemize them. Jung believed in individuation, the lifelong process of becoming your full self by integrating all your parts, especially the shadow. And addiction is the clearest signal that some part of you is still exiled, still disconnected, still hidden behind shame, guilt, or denial. You want to win this war? Then stop trying to kill the addict inside you and start trying to lead him, because he holds the map to your power. He knows what you want more than anything. He's just been walking in circles because you haven't given him direction. You think sobriety is the end goal? It's not. Freedom is. And freedom doesn't mean abstinence, it means presence. It means the ability to act, not react. To choose, not obey. To feel the fire and walk through it instead of running from it. That's what makes you untouchable. Not that you never struggle, but that your struggle becomes sacred. You'll still hear the call to escape. You'll still get tempted. But now you know what it is. You faced it, named it, claimed it. And that awareness, that ownership, that's the beginning of real power. Because the man who understands his craving no longer fears it. He respects it. He harnesses it. He turns it into fuel. That's not fantasy. That's psychology. And it starts with this choice. No more hiding. No more lying to yourself. No more calling it a bad habit when it's really a cry for transformation. Because once you get honest, brutally, intimately honest, addiction loses its camouflage. It can't control what you've made conscious. And in that space where compulsion becomes clarity, you don't just resist the addiction, you replace it with action, with purpose, with presence, with a life built from the inside out, not from distraction, but from depth. You've been taught to see addiction as the end, the bottom, the curse you carry through life. But Carl Jung saw it differently. He saw it as a door. And that door doesn't open with willpower. It doesn't open with shame. It opens with truth. Because addiction is not about the substance, it's about the split between who you are and who you're pretending to be, between what you feel and what you allow yourself to feel, between the self you show the world and the self that cries in silence. You don't need to fix yourself. You need to become whole. And wholeness isn't a clean, polished version of you. It's a version that has walked through the shadow, faced his demons, not destroyed them, and emerged carrying their power. That's individuation. That's freedom. And that's why so few people break free, because they never walk all the way through. They stop halfway. They think quitting the addiction is enough. It's not. Quitting is survival. Integration is transformation. Because if you don't evolve past the root cause, the craving will simply find a new mask. You'll trade porn for hustle, alcohol for self-help, weed for validation. Dopamine is clever like that. But the shadow? The shadow doesn't care what shape your addiction takes. It only wants one thing: to be seen. So here's your task, and no one else can do it for you. Face your craving with open eyes. Feel it fully, without judgment. Ask what it's really trying to protect. Reclaim the energy behind it, and redirect it towards something meaningful. Not to numb your life, to build it. Your greatest power lives where your fear is. Your highest potential is buried under your patterns. And your real self, the one you forgot in the noise, is still there, waiting. Not for perfection, but for ownership. You've tried controlling your addiction. You've tried running from it. Now try listening to it. Because when you listen, you stop being a victim. You become an interpreter, a guide, a warrior. And that's what makes the difference. Not that you never crave again, but that the craving no longer controls your life. You control the energy, the focus, the direction. That's maturity. That's masculine power. That's Jung's legacy. And if you take nothing else from this video, take this. Your addiction is not the enemy. It's the invitation to reclaim your will, to confront your pain, to integrate your shadow, to live a life so meaningful, so honest, so full, that the addiction no longer fits inside it. That's not easy, but it's the only kind of freedom that lasts. So don't run, don't numb, don't lie to yourself one more day. Face it, and finally, become the man your shadow's been calling for all along.